Thank you very much, Thomas, for the intro. Yeah, I'm not going to do any advertising. Just my template says branded. That's the only thing that I'm going to do. But really more talking about myself and my relationship with user research. So as Thomas mentioned, I am a head of product at Testing Time, and I worked before in other startups, but I'm coming from a background in quantitative finance, so nothing to do with user research. Oh, you can see the data as user research, and I'm a French living in Switzerland at the moment, in Zurich, full of snow at the moment, which is very great. And today I'm going to talk to you about my story, about my love and my hate relationship with user research as a product manager. So as you notice, I didn't study product management. So before I started being one, I heard about user research. And what I do first, I Google it. And that's at the moment what you can find as a definition. User research is a methodic study of target users, including their needs and pain points. So product manager have the sharpest possible insights to make the best products. Here, three things really resonates with me. The methodic, it's not a one-time thing. You need to do it regularly. Then target users, you don't do it with your mom or your colleague at work. They're very biased. They love you, and they will. Oh, hopefully your colleagues love you, and will always tell you that your product is amazing. And then needs and pain points. I really think it's really important to focus on both, on the positive and on the negative of experience. So I heard a lot of wonderful things about user research, and I fell in love with it. So what were all those wonderful things that I heard about user research? First thing, I learned that user research helps me make my product successful and avoid it to fail. You have some statistics that say like 30 to 45% of new product fail to deliver any meaningful financial returns. So any revenue, and this is really for a product manager like a fear, like you create something and it fails miserably. I had the chance to try the Google Glasses a few years back, so that's why I'm using it as an example. And when my friend told me like, hey, I'm bringing this prototype of the Google Glasses, I'm bringing to Switzerland. Will you want to try it on? I was like, yes, it sounds amazing. I had in my mind super cool concept, really going to be useful. I'm going to look like Jessica Alba as a spy with very cool intelligence glasses. So that was my picture. In reality, it looked like more like what the Prince Charles is wearing. It's the design is not very appealing, and when I tried to comment the Google Glasses, I have a French accent, and it didn't work. So I said Google, Google, and with my French accent, it didn't activate. So I had a bit of a usability issue there for sure. As you all know, Google Glasses failed. It's a product that is out of the market at the moment. They're thinking about maybe doing another round, but it failed because of three things. At high price, it was super expensive. Then data policy issues. You could record from the glasses and without the people not knowing. And then aesthetics. And that was my point here with the pictures. In my opinion, user research could really have avoided at least two of the reasons, like the high price and the aesthetics. And that's why I really truly believe that user research is a great thing. Another reason why I love user research is that I know it's not only saving money, resources, time, but also making money. So it's called the return on investment of user research. And for me, that was like a wow moment. So, okay, it's not only like kind of a must do, but it's really like something that can push me and then create even more revenue that I expected. So, for example, the Walmart released a new shopping cart. And what they did is that they did a lot of user research rounds to do it. And this increased their number of visitors by 214% and increased their sales by 160%. So these are, for me, crazy numbers. It's like, okay, kind of optimizing for 1 or 2% here and there, but really like it shows the true power of user research. So after all those good things that I heard about saving my product, making it successful, like even earning more money than I planned, I said to myself, so why don't I still hate doing it? Like, why can't I convince myself or persuade myself to do it? So I reflected on the why. For me, it's like exercising. It's like healthy food and annual checkup. I know those are good things for me. I really, truly do. And I know that I should do it, but I failed to do them, or at least I failed to do them methodically. And for me, it's the same with user research. I know I need to know the people who are using my product, for whom I'm designing the product, for whom I'm developing the product. But I still don't do I just still didn't do user research. So I was like, hey, why? And I had also a lot of excuses. So I really that's few of them that I do it myself, or like I heard other product managers say. So I can start with no time. Sorry, like I have this urgent deadline. I need to push my product out, or I will do it next time. It's not the right time right now. So I push maybe from one phase of the product development cycle to the next phase. I have no budget, especially with Corona. Sensible topic. Then I use best practices, or I use what my competitors are doing. I can just copy paste instead of doing research. I know already it's a good idea. I have no user research in my team, so not the knowledge. Users don't know what they want. That's kind of the faster horses versus a car from Tom Ford. Or I have no access to my users. That also happened when you, for example, have a product that do B2B2C. So you don't have access to the end users. Or the founders already decided. That happens a lot in startups environment. Or I already know what my customer needs and wants. So all of these excuses, I had them, I still have them. It's something that comes back and forth in my mind as a product manager. So based on all those excuses, what made me change my mind? So first, I'm really privileged that I am in a company that is for user research, and where I don't have to convince the founders or the management team. And I also chose this company because they are focused on user research. So it's similar to like searching for a body to go running, so you are accountable. I search for a company where user research is in the center, and push myself there. But mostly it's because I learned it the hard way at Testing Time. I'm going to tell you the story about Testing Time now. It's a product that was developed at Testing Time. And when I arrived, it just got released, and then it just was live. So what was the principle of this product? As you know, we recruit participants for professionals who want to do user research. So we really search for the participants. How it works is that you tell us which target group you need. We find the matching testers, we schedule them, and after you run your user research, we pay them. And Testing Time now was kind of the instantaneous testing time. So it was the idea that you go from a scheduled user research to a real-time user research, that you could ask right now to someone, your target group, a question that you have about your product. It was kind of like remote hallway testing, instant survey, micro interviews. It was perfect for those. So how would it go? You will come to the Testing Time Now website. You would choose 4 characteristics for your target group. So the age, the gender, the country, and the language. And you will click on live video chat now, and we will search for a person. So after roughly 1 minute or 2, we would find your matching test person for those 4 characteristics, and you could start the session. So you would be connected with this user, with these testers, and for roughly 10 minutes in average, people will talk to their testers and ask the questions. Why was it a fail? Why we stopped it? We just believe that with this fancy tech, we will attract a lot of new customers. It wasn't the case. Many existing customers tried it out, and usually only once. We also realized that customers like to plan their user research. Having like instantaneous user research was creating a lot of insecurity in our customers. They were not sure, okay, am I asking it the right way? I'm asking the right questions. They really needed preparation. User research is about preparing and then analyzing so that you make your results comparable like between the tests that you're doing. And then it didn't really solve a customer problem. We couldn't find the perfect target group. With only 4 characteristics like the gender, age, language, and country, it was not precise enough. Our customer really wants to have like someone who uses a smartphone, someone is used to do gaming online, someone who has a mortgage, these kind of really precise characteristic of target group. And then finally, it was hard to maintain next to a core product, so we had to make a priority decision. And after, just to give you a perspective, after 11 sessions only, like live session, we already had received 47 to-dos, improvements, or feedback. So the relation between number of session and feedback of improvement was too high to do that. So after learning the hard way I needed to learn to fight my excuses and to integrate user research in my day-to-day as a product manager. And how did I do that? How did I make it a habit? I have 4 tricks that I do. The first one is when I tell myself not right now, I remember that I can do it really at each stage of the product development cycle. I can really do product discovery in idea and analysis phase. I can do hypothesis testing there, closed door tests, for example, to collect ideas. In the design phase, I can do prototype testing. For example, in the technological development, I can do beta testing. And on the ongoing usage, I can do really like more quantitative research, analyzing conversion rates, for example, and then maybe digging deeper by doing more qualitative interviews. I used to do a lot of testing on the design when I started and on the technological development. So here, a lot of prototype testing. This was easy. Okay, you let people go through and they think out loud and tell you what they like and what they don't like. And then in technological development, that's where the place where I was more comfortable with the engineers and then kind of feeling myself if it's now working as planned or not. So more beta testing. And I really over the years changed my mind to do it more on the ongoing usage. And this also went in the same direction of release or output driven product versus outcome product. I really needed to push for having more user research on the outcome. Did I really manage what I wanted to achieve? Did I really solve a customer problem? And on the idea and analysis phase is more the question, am I building the right thing? Is this my new idea, my new feature, a good thing or not? Or can I solve the problem in another way? The second trick, when I hear myself telling, hey, I have no time to do user research, it's not a priority, I made it part of the roadmap for the product team. So I really went from having 2 big blocks in the roadmap of having product development, which is quite big and quite broad, where there was user research, but it was more ad hoc kind of things. It was not really planned. And then in a technical implementation, it took longer because we had some iteration in the technical implementation. We had in the beta testing, we realized that some flows didn't make sense. We had to redesign it and so on and so forth. On the second roadmap that we implemented later on, you can really you have a dedicated time to user research. And I think that's really good for all your team. I have a UX and I have a UI, and for them it's really important to know, okay, my prototype is going to be tested at this moment, and then I have like an entire week to do prepare the test, run the test, and do the analysis. So it gives also a good confidence for everyone to know when am I kind of the lead on the project. It also reduces the technical implementation time because we had like really good flows, no back and forth anymore with engineers. And I also added at the end, after a period of release, after the release, I added a user research plan for testing the ongoing usage. I must say that this took me a while. I implemented it only last year, because you need to have a kind of a feeling of how long user research lasts for your team. Like for example, right now I could tell you prototype testing. I need 1 week for preparation, for 5-6 test users and analysis. But for example, if I would try another product or another thing to test, for example, price testing, which I'm researching for at the moment, I have no idea. I have no idea how long it will take. So it's a bit of an unknown, and that's where agile methodology comes in for sure. My third tip is I hear a lot no budget, especially from our clients. And that's where I recommend to start with doing small, easy, and remote tests. Really, like also in my previous job, I had a hard time to get a budget because I also was, hey, I want to test the entire platform. I have with all the different personas and put everything back into questions. That was kind of my approach of when you come inside a new company. So I always got, yeah, no, we don't have the budget for user research. So sorry. So it was a bit of the idea. So my strategy is really focus on small iteration. So where Jakob Nielsen from the Norman Nielsen group really push you to do like small iteration of 5 testers, because he says like with 5 testers, you can get 85% of the usability problems. So it's really something that you can do easily, 5 tester, you can get on LinkedIn, you can get on them on Facebook, just do it and then get maximum of input as you can. Furthermore, there are more different methodologies with different pricing. So a guerrilla testing, which means going into the street, just asking 5 person, or going on Clubhouse and asking 5 person is cost you nothing. A survey is also quite cheap versus other methodology like diary studies or field studies that are big and long, which will cost you a lot. So you can really try out different methodology. There are methodology that are cheaper. Then remote versus physical, I really see COVID as a chance to do more user research because remote is usually cheaper. You don't have to plan a usability lab, book a room, get the people there, because usually they ask for a greater compensation as well because they have to go to a place, do the test and come back to their place. So remote is really a chance at the moment to do user research. By the way, I love the chat going on the side. Thank you guys. And then finally, my final tips for the day is the no buy-in from internal stakeholders. We all heard about, hey, I know from a founder, for example, at my place, hey, this is a great idea. No need for user research. You can skip it. We just go full in for this. The shareholders want it. So let's go for it. And that's really like the point where I say, hey, stop. Don't tell them that you don't like their ideas. Their idea might be the best, actually, but tell them that you want to understand what's the underlying problem. And this they can only understand, in my experience, if you involve them in the user research process. So what we do at Testing Time is that every employee, and especially new ones, newcomers, have to be the guinea pig for tests. So we run kind of an interview or test scripts with one person from the team always. And then we also always invite other people to be observers. So in some tools, you really have like Loopback, you really have this observer role, which is not intrusive at all. Your test user is not going to see this person. So that's really great. Second, take a lot of time for your analysis and results and to communicate it. I think that's one of my main mistakes was that we did the user test, we had a lot of good insights, but we didn't communicate to the rest of the team. So they didn't see the added value. They just saw the end product and thought it was good, but they didn't see the value that was added by the user research. And how to communicate it, there's a really cool chart, very simple, that you see on the right, with low cost versus high cost and small improvement versus large improvement. And I would really recommend to go for the low cost, large improvement and go there first, and then just prioritize your results, and then just see like, hey, we're going to go for everything which is in Prio 1. So to summarize, I still have a lot of a hate relationship and still have to push myself every time to do more user research for all the stages. But I really know that user research is a must-have for product manager. It's not nice to have, otherwise your product would just fail. User research is doable and should be done at each stage of the product development cycle. The earlier, the better. That would be my advice. And then schedule your user research in your roadmap, similarly of how you plan your engineering process. I think that's, for me, was a big game changer also in expectation management with other teams. User research is available for any budget. I think that's quite cool. Like really, like as Thomas said, even if you don't have like money to recruit people, just go on LinkedIn. People are really up for helping. I really noticed that. And then present user research results, convince the others, get more budget, and iterate. Final word, user research will happen with or without you, so make it an habit. Thank you guys for listening. Thomas, do you want to jump back in?
Yeah. I'm back. I would like to get Elena on stage because she's here waiting for being there for a long time. Yeah, I think what Hopin is missing is some like applause, kind of like sound effects.
Thank you guys for all the claps.
It's kind of like this silent clap. Clap. After spending a while at virtual conference, that's actually the only thing I'm missing. Applause, right? That you have like a crowd of like, I mean, imagine we have 300 people here today and they would all applause. This would be like enormous sound. And yeah. Oh yeah. So many claps. Yeah, clap even more.
I love the missing beers. Me too, for sure.
Yeah, the missing beers. I mean, so yeah, please feel free to jump on the stage and ask Cosima questions right away. I was following some discussions from the previous rounds, and I really like I mean, that's my personal favorite part, is when the talk is over and then we can get like into discussion. And yeah, I would like to, I mean, there were so many things going on in the chat. I will just try to pick up the last thing I see here for now, while no one wants to join on stage. So please just click the blue button and enter, and then you can ask the questions right away. Here's something from Maximilian. Do you have experience or tips for how to conduct remote tests with people who are mostly working offline? In my case, one important user group is engineers installing devices in private households. Oh, I love those specific targets. Yeah.
I would go for the tool that they use every day. So ask your target group, what do they use for their internal communication? Like, is it WhatsApp? Is it going to be, do they have email? I don't know if they're using email, WhatsApp, if they have a Google account, but I would just schedule a call on WhatsApp with a video, to be honest. I think it's still the easiest because they're on the field. They can just quickly with their phone jump in. No barrier to entry. Yes, you won't have the recording, but that's, yeah. Otherwise, there are like tools online that you can use, but they require like downloading from those people. So I don't know how tech savvy they are. That's always a bit of a problem. But yeah, figure out.
Lino said, like, we need to improve our communication of user test results. Do you have any recommendations?
So what we do, we have a monthly product session, and that's where we also show kind of the different version of the prototype, even the wireframe. And it really shows like maybe just one screen of those, and it really shows, okay, you went from here to this step to the next step, and people are like, okay, you started with like two drawings, two circles drawn on a page to the last step, which is super nice. And I think that's where people really understand.
Oh, here we
and
have
result. Hi, Lino.
Hi.
And you also have in a couple of tools, especially quantitative tool, like great charts. I don't know if you used Optimal Workshop for card sorting, but they have the best visualization of results as well.
You just mentioned another sponsor. That's fun.
So Optima, I think the reason
Optimal Workshop.
We have about 4 apps, and those apps, like, we kind of need to give an update regularly because we do testing pretty much every 2 weeks for 2 or 3 of the products. So it's just hard to have something standard that we can share with the whole company, that everyone can, you know, have a very high level view on the status of each of the apps, because they're very complicated flows. And we're just kind of struggling a bit right now. So just any best practices that you've had in the past or
so for flow testing.
Well, we do flow testing. We found that doing it with sort of Zoom interviews, just with privately found users, has been the best result so far. Yep. And but it's just hard to get the results sort of in a digestible package at the end. So
there, like, if you have a flow as well on prototype, I would really suggest to do unmoderated tests. Or they're called click-through tests.
Yeah.
Where you give them a goal, like maybe, hey, order this particular product, and then you see really like in the unmoderated flow where they go. And you don't disturb them, you don't influence them, and then you can really show. There are even like tools with heat maps where they show that's what in the process, that's where people stopped or were lost or like took more time to find the solution. And I think that's really powerful.
Okay, that's really good feedback. Thank you.
Anyone else who wants to jump on stage? Maybe oh, Alexander. Maybe Cosima, you can unshare your screen. So we we can see people faces. Hi, Alexander.
Hi, I'm calling from here. I
saw you already today, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was a bit hard with the guys. Another thing, a technique that is probably not while you're doing weekly tests, but you're doing a new product, because you're a researcher. And for me, it's kind of weird that role is split, because I work for smaller companies, so we do all that ourselves, the research in the beginning, and there is no project manager involved, basically, unless the company is big. But the note taking or you usually observe more people who talk about the product, and I involve other people who don't have the UX role, and when we observe and we talk about how to code that. And what I mean by coding is that we try to figure out, kind of categorize all the observations we've made by ourselves first, then we join, then we put it on the board, and then find some kind of pattern or organization, in a sense, to say, okay, this is how we're going to document.
Okay.
These are our parameters to measure.
So I see what you mean, and I see your problem. When I do qualitative testing, I sometimes also add some quantitative questions. So after a prototype, I ask like, hey, from 1 to 6, and not 1 to 5, but 1 to 6, how would you rate the flow of this, your journey today? How would you rate the design today? And then you can ask this at different moment on the flow. And this gives you an indication of, okay, did the task that I had for this part of the flow is well understood or not? You will see, even with 5 people, if you have like between 5 and 6 rating, all good. You don't need to dig deeper. If you have a couple of outliers, you need to understand why because they're like more pessimistic people or not. Or what's the problem. And that's the moment where you compare notes and dig deeper in your notes. And this will save you a lot of time in terms of analysis and results. Be careful of cultural differences. German, for example, in my opinion, usually tend to rate a bit lower. So 4 to 5 are like really good grades, while like UK people will more like be 5 to 6 all the time. So this is also something to be mindful when you do qualitative tests.
Yeah.
And I heard 1 to 6. Why? It's because you can't have a 3. You can't be like in the middle. That's really Swiss, and a lot of Swiss people do it, and I don't know what to do with those.
We call them Swedes, but anyway, we call them Swedes in Scandinavia.
We call it Swedes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander, for the question.
Does anyone else want to come on stage? Dieter, hello. I think there was also a question from Alexander. What service did Cosima recommend for heat map at all? What was it? Like.
So heat map. Hi, Dieter. Heat map for sure. Hotjar is a good one. I think as well, Optimal Workshop has some. Right now, they're also going in this phase. Maze, in terms of prototype testing, is quite good.
Also,
I don't know how.
VWO.com.
Oh, that I don't know. Oh, cool.
It's similar. It's similar to Hotjar, I would say. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
I will send a link. They have heat maps, on-page surveys, all this kind of stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of tools. I mean that's the good news. So it's not an excuse, right? Oh, I don't know how to do it. I mean, come on, there are thousands of tools. Dieter, what is your question?
Yeah, hi together. That was really amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you for the input. Really liked it. Talking about development processes, like whether you're in a waterfall process or in an agile development, does this make any, or does this have any kind of impact on your task in the user research? Or doesn't?
No, it does. So we have a kind of a mix. We do more Kanban, but I see it in different teams around me, like who use really like waterfall and Scrum. And Scrum is more like you really need to have an idea of how long it's going to take. And this makes it very hard. And there you need someone like more senior, or like you can maybe do some research, like how long usually it takes to test a new flow, for example. For waterfall, it's easier. There it's just more about like convincing everyone that you need to take time for doing user research, because you can do it as long as you can, basically. And there is the responsibility of a product manager to also say at one point, hey, we have 85% of it done. It's never going to be perfect. You can always do more rounds of user tests. That's and that's where kind of deadlines come in. Yeah. So that's my difference.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
Actually, I have a very nice question from Karina. Maybe Karina, can you get on stage as well? That would be cool. Yes, love it.
Oh. Hi.
Yeah, just please ask your please
Karina.
ask your question again.
Yeah, how do you document your user research and what of it?
Ooh, so we have notes in the tool that we call Lookback. So that's dirty notes just taken on the fly by the observers. We always have one observer in the tests, and in general we document also the results, the communication of the results with our product monthly. So we have a deck of Google Slides with all the results, and that's where I'm always going back to at this point, last November, we had this kind of result on this product. And then now I can see that there has been a change on this.
So you update what you document on a regular basis?
Exactly. I don't change it. I don't edit it. I always keep what I had before, and then I show the kind of the changes. And then in the middle for the when you're preparing, we have Asana where we have the stories where you have a subtask for the user research, and that's where we have kind of the group notes.
Is it was there at any time a point where you said that is too much, I can't have an overview anymore?
Ooh, good point. For when you ask open questions on surveys, that's really tough. And then you do a big quantitative survey and you ask open questions. There we even try to at one point use word cloud analysis to kind of search the mess. I won't do that again. Either you do quantitative and then you really see kind of points by like do rankings, do statistic there, and then when you see there is a problem somewhere, you dig deeper with qualitative with 5 test users.
That's actually one question I also had in mind, if I may continue.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
What would you say? When do you use qualitative? When do you use quantitative research?
Good point. So I use quantitative mainly on 2 stages. On the ongoing usage, when I have a product that is already live and I want to see why is one of my KPI related to this product not going well, and that's where I'm doing deeper. Or on the idea phase of, okay, what's important, what's the need, what do you want to see next, what's your pain point right now, what changed with COVID. This kind of question. No, but I mean, the day-to-day changed a lot for a lot of people. And so we did another survey of how user research changed in terms of COVID. And this is the kind of question that you can ask first on a quantitative way. And then when you go on I read like I saw a couple of times this kind of like recurring topic. And then you go to qualitative to go deeper insights. So first you see where the problem lies or where the opportunity lies, and then you go deeper with qualitative testing.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Gaina.
I think what I really found interesting in the question from Karina is that there is this quote that the problem with Agile is that Agile doesn't have a brain. So yeah, you move on from like a sprint to another one, or in Kanban, you just move from the left to the right, and then you just, whether you test or you deploy, and then on to the next one, right? But I see this really, I mean, that's just my personal experience. When you continue going on and testing and learning, and then kind of like, okay, what have I learned? Somehow documenting it in a way which is not too much, so you don't spend like hours in like creating fancy PowerPoints with 30 slides of insights and recommendations and everything, which, by the way, no one will read. Just my the learning from my side. I don't know how to go about it in agile teams, or do you agree? Or okay, one step back. Do you agree with this quote? Agile has no brain, and is this a problem?
Karina, do you have an opinion on this?
At the moment, we're kind of trying to find a good way there. I was seeing a tool, Dovetail, maybe some of you know that. It is for research documentation. It is a bit of out of our price range at the moment. So I'm trying a bit to imitate what I find good in there in a way I can imitate it in Confluence, for instance. And that is, I don't know if you mean the same, but that is documenting really only the insights that are gathered through several research instead of every single node. And having that those single nodes still somewhere, but not as present as the insights. And that the insights are the ones you want to keep in mind over time and want to update. So like your presentations, for instance. But not every single small detail you learned.
Usually as a product manager, I always also ask myself, what's the KPI I want to change there? Or what's the thing that I want to change? And then I document this mainly, like, was it a success? Was it not a success? It can also just be a tick green or tick or a bar that says that we didn't achieve it. And it's already like kind of the greatest results. It's kind of the American way of being, have the results, and then I will tell you later how I came to this, versus our European way of like, we had this huge process and we had this, did all this research and we came up with this at the end, kind of.
I'm a bit guilty of the building up.
I am too. I'm here, there too, for sure.
Bennett, do you have something to say?
Yeah, just one quick comment and one thing from the chats, because one thing coming from Agile doesn't have a chat. I think most of you, or a lot of guys say, okay, this is Agile and Kanban just moved. I think that has Kanban and Scrum has nothing to do with Agile. It's just, it's a bunch of rules and a bunch of principles that you want to go with that. And that's also like, if we're talking about how to access your user research, how to organize yourself, another tool won't help you. It's all about people and interaction over processes and tools. It's all about the people. So I'm going to post it here because the chat is flowing. It's kind of hard to find. I just wanted to say that because it's hard to find if you just Google para model or para method. That's one thing that helped me privately. We don't use it at work. That helped me privately a lot to organize my. I mean, it's a 4G drive. You can basically use it for everything else to organize documents or stuff, even on Confluence. And that's kind of the thing. So that's people and interactions. That's how you create it, and not the tool in which you create it doesn't matter. That was just the thought, because I tried to find that thing, and I have to use it.
Agree. Sorry if I might interrupt. Stefan, maybe one last question. I just realized, and that's my fault, that we ignored, or that I ignored the break. So there should have been, there was supposed to have, that we have a break at 10 past, to be honest, till half past. And then the session with Megan and Katie will continue in 3 minutes. So sorry for that one. But I would say, I don't know, whoever needs a break, I mean, you can just leave, take a sip of water, or maybe eat something. Hopin works on mobile devices as well. This is what I did in the last conference. I just took it downstairs, continued watching while having a snack. So that should work. So Stefan, one last question from your side, or impulse.
Yeah, and I'll make it quick. Just one more comment. So I was just thinking that I have two sides in me. The first one is basically asking for a tool to manage all this research data and to integrate it, analyze it, note everything down. But then I was thinking about Bennett's comment, and I think this is very valuable. It's actually, and this probably also ties back to one of the agile principles, right? It's more about communication. It's more about bringing the knowledge to the team, to the whole organization, instead of documenting everything, because in the end, no one needs that. And I guess, yeah, it's always, you have to find a balance between those two things, obviously, but probably the focus should be more on the latter than on the former.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a value I see in the approach of only looking or documenting or communicating the insights, and not every step you had to get to that insight.
And I really agree with Madita on the chat, like saying like you should involve your team. I think it's totally right. Like from the beginning, get the people. They will also maybe remember something else than you did that is as valuable. And I think that's really great. Yeah, for sure.
I would also say, actually, I realized, that's just my 2 cents, that this documentation need and having something written down or so, it's a bit overrated. What you should do is actually create a culture where your teams can learn and teams can exchange, and yeah, where people want to stay at your company for a long time. So I experienced that, like being in a team where no one left the company for 5 years, and then first one said, "Now I need to go," and we were like, "What?" So actually, so the knowledge stays in a team, and you learn continuously, and this is so exciting that everyone just wants to stay and they're curious. Okay, what's the next thing we can learn and improve, right? So the knowledge stays in the team. Maybe that's another approach. Alexandra. Okay. One last one. Okay. I'm a very bad timekeeper.
I just want to comment on that. Part of communication has to do with different times to independently think and then to think together. And this flexion between private thinking and communal thinking is very important, because or else we're going to act as if we're heads are cut off like chickens, you know, to the slaughter, acting in panic, not well thought out thoughts. And actually, when creating a PowerPoint or a presentation or a report that's very arduous, I know that is not what most people like, but doing that collaboratively online in different locations is a smart thing, because then you sort of collaboratively form an informed opinion together when you write together and when you try to present that for other people, because by nature of presentation, you conduce your message to a very minimum, just like when you design, and you're absolutely sure of what you're saying. You're not just blabbering out. You actually, it's very ironic. I don't really like Jeff Bezos much, but he only receives written essays as a contribution from his colleagues, which are well thought out thoughts. So that's something to think about, I think.
Definitely a good thing to think about. I will ask my team to do essays from now on.
No, I'm not saying that. Some videos which have been edited thoughts by yourself, you know. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Thank you very much, Alexandra.
Okay, one last one before we act, guys. We are missing Megan and Katie. Yeah, Sebastian.
Yeah, I just had maybe one wrapping comments, because we talked about PowerPoint a lot, right? Or the way how to present things. And to be honest, one of the things we experience is that sometimes a really quick video or audio snippet of an interview really helps, because one of the main problems I see is then if you have it on a PowerPoint presentation, it's always like an interpretation of yourself or the team or whoever did the research towards the person it's directed to, whether it's a team or stakeholders or whatever. And what we really experienced sometimes when you have just like a small thing, it can be really quick and dirty, iMovie or GarageBand or whatever you have to cut it. because then people just get like 3 or 4 video pieces with the main takeaways where a person actually commented on something or shared some insight, and they're just like, whoa, what? We never thought about that. And it's more, let's say, believable than when you put it on slides.
I see your point. It's also like you're removing yourself from the equation. Like your bias is kind of taken out of the way, and people like directly get to the source. No, it's very interesting. Yeah. I think you could still add videos into Google Drive and presentation. By the way.
Sure. But like I've hardly seen that, to be honest.
No, but it's totally valid point. Yeah, I will definitely do it. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, I would say let's